Good morning, everyone. I'll call the Crow Wing County Regular Board Meeting for November 10th, 2020 to order. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we have open forum. Is there anyone here or on the Teams meeting who would like to speak to a subject other than what's on our printed agenda?
Oh, public speaking?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. All right. Want me to introduce myself? Are we
Yes,
starting
sir.
the clock right now?
Your name and your address, please.
Troy Scheffler, all capitals, to you from the kingdom of Scheffler in the land of Merrifield. Hear ye, fellow Kekastanis and subjects of Crow Wing. I, the Grand Justicar of Kekistan, now return. Although Kekastanis are a peaceful people who wish to simply thrive in a healthy economy of dank memes, Kekastanis are also a proud people who don't clown around. I warn the tyranny of Crow Wing that I shall return in 2 weeks' time with the scroll of I'm suing your asses. The Grand Wizard of the Kekistani Clown Club, please present Führer Barrows with the scroll. Although we are now at war, Kekistanis are a benevolent people and know that the subjects of Crow Wing have suffered greatly under the ever-elusive, super-duper dangerous virus, so nefarious that the vast majority of infected don't even show symptoms, and so dastardly it has over a 99% survival rate, so as to merely fool the masses as to how incredibly deadly it truly is. COVID-19, trademark. Huzzah, huzzah, we rejoice that your government, through the totally non-profit motivated Pfizer Corporation, concocted an antidote to COVID-19, trademark. At the most crucial of times, 1 week after the election of Douglas Emhoff, marking the end of the reign of President Kushner. We Kekistanis developed an immunity COVID-16, trademark, under the guidance of our great prophet Pepe during the Great Meme War of 2016. While you boomers and delicate dandelions were suffering from hysterical soy-addled brains, we discovered the cure of coronavirus, trademark. Due to the fact that you plan on massively raising taxes upon your subjects in 2021 after destroying your economy, Keck demands we exercise benevolence and share the antidote with your peoples. Massive doses of red pills and testosterone, coupled with a healthy immune system. We hope you share this wisdom handed down by the Most High Keck to combat the inevitable COVID-20, trademark, and repurpose your silly semi-trailer morgue into a party bus celebration vehicle. Praise be to Keck, Mecca Lecca Hi, Mecca Heine Ho.
Thank you, Mr. Scheffler.
Throwing, get these normies out of the plane.
Your name
You
and
shall
address,
not
please.
pass.
Your name and address, please.
Joe. You shall not pass. We good? You shall not pass.
You have 2 minutes to speak.
You shall not pass. 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 Is that 2 minutes?
2 minutes are up.
It's up. You shall not pass.
Mr. Chair,
Name and address, please.
Bickerunga.
Pardon me?
Bickerunga.
And your address?
Flurred.
Where?
Flurred. Huzzah!
2 minutes.
Huzzah! 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 Huzzah!
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak on an item not on our current agenda? All right, with that,
Peoples, rise to your tyranny.
I'd like to have a motion to review and approve the minutes, and I'll combine these. One is the regular county board meeting minutes from 10/27/2020, and the other is a special county board meeting minutes from 11/3/2020.
So moved.
Commissioner Franzine makes the motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hoag. Therese, if you would call the roll call, please.
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
aye.
Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Review and approve the agenda. Motion to approve.
I have something I'd like to add, the reappointment of Craig Nathan to HRA.
Okay, and we will add that on additional business.
All right?
Need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Hoag makes the motion to approve. Commissioner Franzine seconds. Therese, if you would call the roll call, please.
Commissioner Franzine,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry for that.
You have a motion and a second.
Right. Motion by Commissioner Franzine, second by Commissioner Coring to approve the consent agenda. Therese, if you would call the roll call, please.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag,
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows,
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. All right, we're on to number 6. Mr. Free, how are you today?
Morning. Doing well.
This is the RJJS Lake
Yes.
Place Storage Preliminary Plat.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Here today to seek an approval, table, or denial of RJJS Properties LLC for a preliminary plat called Lake Place Storage. This preliminary plat request is for the property involving 20.78 acres located at 10901 County Road 118, Nisswa, Minnesota. It's for a Lake Place Storage plat consisting of 78 total lots, 75 individual lots for commercial storage units, 2 common lots, one of those being a proposed wash bay, and 1 guest cottage dwelling unit. Some history on this particular preliminary plat request. A conditional use permit for commercial storage buildings was approved by the Board of Adjustments in January of 2020. And then recently at our October 22nd Planning Commission meeting, this preliminary plat was recommended for approval as well. I can go over a bit what's going on here. Again, this is the preliminary plat you see on the screen, County Road 118 going east-west across the top of your screen. The driveway access at an angle here coming into the southeast. These are just a driveway, a looping area. And then the individual commercial storage units are shown here on these various outlots with the small lines in between each outlot item representing the individual storage units. And this is, again, this is that 20-acre parcel. It's a fairly wooded, undeveloped lot at this time. Concerning the comments we've received, Lake Edward Township recommended denial. City of Nisswa had 2 emails where they noted no concerns. The County Highway Department noted that an entrance permit was approved and the entrance was constructed as per their recommendations and their correspondence and the Highway Department's suggestion. Lake Association, Pelican Lake Association recommended denial of this request. We've received a number of comments on this particular item. All of the comments that we received in time for the Planning Commission meeting on the 22nd have been included in your packet. We did have 2 individuals who spoke at the Planning Commission meeting as well, not in supportive. Just summarizing the kinds of comments we've received. We've received approximately 11 unsupportive, what we would characterize as unsupportive comments for the proposal, and at least 3 unsupportive comments that have been received after the publication of the packet that you guys have received. But I know we made a good effort to try and get those into your hands as soon as possible. So, Mr. Chair and members of the board, hopefully you've all been able to receive the most current comments that have come out. And we've also received, since the Planning Commission, 13 comments which we would characterize as generally supportive in nature, and those have been included in the packet as well. And if they didn't quite make that, we got those all to the board. In terms of the impervious, it'll meet the impervious thresholds and appears to be meeting all the other land use regulations for this. So with that introduction, I'll take any questions or seek a motion. Thank you.
Commissioner Franzine, any questions?
Well, I've got a lot of comments, no questions at this point. County Road 118 is a beautiful wooded area near Pelican Lake. The surrounding land uses in the immediate vicinity are primarily rural residential 2.5 in nature. The proposed plat intensifies a conditional use permit for commercial storage buildings, making the property non-compatible with the present land uses in the area. County Road 118 is not a trunk highway. It isn't a CASA, which is a county state aid highway. It's not an arterial road or even a collector road. It is instead identified as a local road. This is on page 12 of the 2020 through 2024 Highway Improvement Plan. The Crow Wing County Comprehensive Plan, page 29, encourages the location of additional commercial development to existing cities and discrete nodes along growth corridors on trunk highways. This property is not even located along a growth corridor. Because this road is not designated a trunk highway, it may not be capable of supporting potential increased traffic concerns. There has been a petition submitted by more than 40 neighbors, numerous written comments received from area residents, public comments on October 17th of 2019, January 16th of 2020, and October 22nd of 2020 at the Planning Commission meetings. We have received comments from Lake Edward Township, the Elks Camp, Pelican Lake Association, which has a membership of 1,000 adjacent residents, that do not recommend approval of this preliminary plat, in part due to concerns over health and safety in the region due to increased traffic and overdevelopment on the property. Those concerns have not been adequately addressed. The plat does not conform with the county's comprehensive plan, Article 97C3, stating that lots must comply with the minimum lot standards of 108,900 square feet and a width of 165 feet as specified in the land use ordinance. Through the variance process, RJJS has been allowed to minimize the lot size to 600 square feet rather than the 109,000 square feet, with a width of 20 feet rather than the 165 feet. These are postage-size lots. They aren't 2.5-acre lots like the zoning of this property, rural residential 2.5 requires. By approving the preliminary plat to allow selling the units, we will have potentially increased traffic, endangered our groundwater and our forests, and the safety and well-being of our citizens and children. This power we have, which is to protect our land, lakes, and groundwater, as well as the citizens and taxpayers who live in this area, is humbling. And that is why there are ordinances that protect these fragile areas and their tax-paying residents and also guide us. We must be mindful of setting a precedence as we consider this vote and the implications. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, and members of the board, I forgot to mention that at the October 22nd meeting, a variance for lot size and lot width was approved by the Board of Adjustments. So a little bit of history there.
Thank you. And before I ask other commissioners for their remarks, I would like to go back to the public, and if there's people that would like to speak to this subject, I would entertain that at this point. Anyone interested in speaking? Yes, sir. If you'll come forward and state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Herman Wisniewski, 3057 Meyer Road, Fort Ripley, Minnesota. Don't worry, I'm down in Paul's area, but I am the past state president of Minnesota Elks Association, and I'm on the board of directors for the Minnesota Elks Youth Camp. We're right across the street from the possible development. Back in October of 2019, for a complete history, there was a zoning change requested for this piece of property from residential to commercial. And at that time, I sat in this very room and had a planning and zoning commissioner express concern of spot zoning, of dropping a commercial right in the middle of residential. After that, that was denied by the planning and zoning. After that, the conditional use permit came up, and to go on that basis. What's changed? Why have we decided that it's all right to drop a commercial into a residential area? Secondly, within the last 2 years, the land across the street, directly north of that, north and west of the highway, or north and east of the highway, that 240 acres has been turned over to as a conservation easement to the Minnesota DNR. The Minnesota Elks Organization gave that easement up because we want to leave that area forever as undeveloped. The township has expressed concern, opposition to it. The township board has got the pulse of the township. That's what their job is. More traffic on 118. Commissioner Franzen made the comment about the traffic on it. It's got curves. Mr. Blank, former highway commissioner, highway chairman, understands those curves and obstructed views and the rest of it. That is not a major highway. That's not 3 and it's not 4. Across the street, we have from the middle of June to the middle of August, anywhere from 80 to 100 9 to 13-year-old kids at our Elks camp. They're using our camp. They're using that 240 acres. They're using Highway 118 to have bike rides on and bike trails on, and we've got it. Increased traffic would pose a hazard to our organization, to our campers. And lastly, this is the wrong place to put this development. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak to this subject? Ms. Coring?
This is Susan Coring. Can you?
Susan, do you have anything going in the background? Are you streaming us live, like on YouTube or on the website?
I'm on the. Doing
Everyone else is muted, right?
Is everyone else muted? It looks like everyone is. Hold on. Because you can't be streaming something in the background. If you have us up on the website or on YouTube or something, you have to close that out. Or you have to turn the volume off.
Just while they're speaking.
Is it better now?
Yep, that's, well, no. Hold on, let me just make sure everybody is muted here. Okay, Susan, can you unmute yourself? Just Susan?
Can you hear me now? Better now?
And you don't have like any headphones or anything that you can plug into your laptop?
Yes.
So-
Well, it's all right now. I went out of it, I think.
Oh, yeah, you
Can you
sound
hear me
better
now?
now. Yep.
Okay,
Go
thank
ahead.
you. I appreciate the Elks Camp speaking up. I know last fall I had sent a letter, but by the time the letter got there, decisions were made, so it was filed. And then in March, again, another letter. I have Tom Moore from our Lake Association working with me on this letter proposition. I think people don't understand how the precedence of how this could go in the future for other entities that might come in there. I am representing the association, so of course we're concerned about our quality of our water and the environment. Definitely the road and the, as Commissioner Francine said about the location of the road and then the curves and it not justified for commercial. I think people don't understand how this affects unless they live there and realize it and take part. Being right now, being involved in environmental classes at the Central Lakes College, I really now take this stuff really seriously because I love this lake and I love the environment. And once we start all this commercial around us, it affects. And I just want you to all take this seriously because this is another step that you don't really realize until you live the environment and take part in it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else that would like to address from the public? Seeing and hearing none, I'll go back to the commissioners then. Any commissioners out there? Commissioner Coring, Commissioner Brecken?
No.
Nothing from me, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hogue?
No, I was gonna ask Jake about the screening between the highway and the site, but I see the pictures, which it's fairly well screened. Likely not visible from 118, I doubt.
It's very visible from 118. I was just out there last week.
Well, this time of year possibly, but
Well, Commissioner Hogue and Mr. Chair, there are conditions that have been placed on the conditional use permit from January, which mandates the 175 feet of screening from the highway and 50 feet of screening on the east, south, and west sides.
so that's beyond the normal.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And that's just required, and that's something they'll need to do. And so, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
And another question, Mr. Chair. I thought at one time I read something with Lake Edward Township that supported this application. Was that early on and there was a change?
Yes, I can answer that because I've been at their meetings. It was when they thought there was one storage unit going in, not 90.
Well, this,
And now it's down to 80 or 75, but it was when Mr. Johnson came to them and they believed that it was one storage unit. So that's the change.
Any other questions?
I don't think so, not right now.
And so I have some concerns here that I would like to get into the record. And my first one is that the county, by the CUP and PUD process, has already given the permissions with conditions to conduct the use the landowner or developer had asked for in the original PUD. So by refusing to approve the plat, The county does not take away any of the aforementioned uses, and the county would not be denying a use commonly expected in the neighborhood or zoning district. The variance for lot size is very drastic, and it's not just a little bit from the rural residential zone district. It might look like the CUP was intentionally done as a front-runner application to pave the way for a variance when no hardship exists. Ordinances were not placed on the property after uses were established. Rather, the county already accommodated the developer use request with the CUP. And the CUP was granted with conditions to include the storage use. That was not approved in the residential zoning class only because the CUP, the county had authority to condition and enforce conditions. So once platted, the county may give up some of its authority to manage the not typical residential use. And if there's future enforcement issues, whatever they may be, the county would have 75 owners to work with in their association in the future, making it much harder to deal with those issues. And in addition to the use, the storage and residential, there may have been shared or aggregated compliance exceptions, setback impervious surface, shared septic systems, shared access points, and crossover uses that would be harder to manage in a plat due to the complexity of deed restrictions, easements, or other legal tools necessary to make the lots work. Outside parking, noise, commercial lighting, which is required, and smells from 75 independent owners, and how those might impact the reasonable use expectations of the current rural residential adjacent landowners might be a challenge. And the perception that all these potential uses, 75 opportunities, might affect adjacent land value is subjective, but potentially an issue. And that's my concern, is that we have landowners adjacent to this that will be impacted by this development if we approve this plat. And so my position is that I cannot support the plat. The CUP is what it is, but the plat I cannot support. Any further comments? When I read the comprehensive plan and I went to the amendment, and the policy says that we will, in these areas, in rural residential, we will encourage residential development that provides housing options for different society and economic groups, particularly the aging population, and while protecting the characteristics that people value, a sense of community, as well as a plan to provide all citizens reasonable access to a diversity of recreational and open space opportunities. I think that speaks to what we're talking about here, what Commissioner Franzine said, what Commissioner Hoag has identified, and what I have attempted to identify here also. When I look at the facts and findings, Jake, and I go down, a couple things I noted. First of all was the designation of County Road 118 and the facts and findings as a trunk highway, which is not true, and I don't know if the Planning Commission recognized that when they were taking their vote on that particular issue. But when I look at Article 9, 6E, and number 3, and it talks about being needs to be, I'm looking for the word, to be compatible with a comprehensive plan. I don't see that at this point under a residential piece of property. And the other one that I was looking for is D, and the compatibility with the present land use in the area of the proposal. And what I see is residential, it's designated as residential, and I believe we should keep it as residential. So when I look at those particular issues, I could go to F, where it talks about traffic impacts and that, and with 75 of these units, there's a potential to have a lot of traffic, and it's with trailers and that to get their equipment, or particularly boats, to the lakes and that. It's not one vehicle, it's essentially the distance of 2 vehicles, if not more. So I personally cannot support this at this time. So I guess I'm looking for a motion.
I would make a motion to deny the preliminary plat.
Commissioner Franzine makes the motion to deny. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Brecken seconds the motion. Therese, if you would call the roll call, please.
Commissioner Brecken,
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag,
Name.
Commissioner Franzine,
Aye.
Commissioner Coring,
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Chair, and
Yes.
perhaps Administrator Hool, we do need findings, final findings to support a denial of this plat. And I'm wondering if that's something that you want to articulate at this time, a number of different findings, or if maybe perhaps you've already done that and you can have staff attempt to synthesize that into some findings for the next board meeting. Do you have any comments, Mr. Hull?
Yes.
On that? Does that seem reasonable?
Mr. Chair and members, today what you're providing is direction to staff to prepare the findings to deny the
I've got
plat.
findings.
Do you have them that you can share?
Yes, I can.
Then let's share them.
And if you want to still take more time, we can. But the first question is, does the proposed plat conform to the county's comprehensive plan? No. The Crow Wing County Comprehensive Plan, page 29, encourages the location of additional commercial development to existing cities and discrete nodes along growth corridors on trunk highways. County Road 118 is not a trunk highway or located along a growth corridor. It is instead identified as a local road with an on page 12 of the 2020 through 2024 Highway Improvement Plan. County Road 118 is adjacent to the Elks Camp, which serves many children during the summer. The Crow Wing County Comprehensive Plan states to not allow commercial and industrial development in areas lacking the necessary supporting infrastructure, page 29. Because County Road 118 is not a trunk highway, it does not support the necessary infrastructure and therefore does not conform to the county's comprehensive plan. Does anyone want to add anything to that?
I don't believe I'm ready to add anything to it.
Okay. Just a quick
Commissioner Holt?
question. How would these findings compare to the planning and zoning's findings for approval?
Well, these would be new findings and necessary to create the record of the denial. Are you asking specifically what did they say?
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
in comparison to
I do have those. Did you want me to read? So, Commissioner.
Are in our packet.
Yeah, Franzine read the first question of I think it's a total of 4 of them. Seven questions. Excuse me.
9 on ours.
Yep. And so, did you want me to read their answer to the first question?
Yeah, I would, please.
Okay. The answer that the Planning Commission gave was a yes to does the proposed plat conform to the county's comprehensive plan? Yes. The Crow Wing County Comprehensive Plan encourages the location of additional commercial development to existing cities and discrete nodes along growth corridors on trunk highways. County Road 118 is one such highway. Locate industrial development in designated industrial parks and predefined development nodes along heavy growth corridors. Do not allow commercial industrial development in areas lacking the necessary supporting infrastructure.
And
Page
I
29.
guess that's where we have our disagreement, and we know that this is not a trunk highway. So that should have been a no, in my opinion.
So maybe a question then, the highway department did approve a access for this, knowing what the intended use was.
Correct.
Obviously, there must not have been a great concern. How do we explain that, I guess? I don't know I don't know if Tim Bray can explain that or not, if he's on the call, or Jory, or whomever, but.
Mr. Chair, we have Jory here today to answer questions. While he's coming to the podium, what I would say is, the language here is important. A trunk highway would typically refer to Highway 210, Highway 371. It's short of an interstate highway, it's the highest functional classification of a roadway in Minnesota. Then there is county state aid highways, and those are the highways that we have, that we use gas tax revenue to support. Then there is the county road system. 118 is a county road, and so it's the lowest functional class of state and county roads.
Yes, there
So-
are arterial roads and collector roads in between that even.
I think people probably use those terms pretty loosely, but they have a specific legal meaning.
Anything to add, Jory?
No, just that we review every entrance application that comes in, and at the time we reviewed this, we did not feel there would be a major impact to traffic on County Road 118.
And I think that to your question, Commissioner Hoag, it won't matter. The traffic is going to be the traffic because the project will be there. It's whether we're going to plat it or not, so the traffic will be the same regardless.
Right.
There'll be still 75 storage units there that they just will not be able to sell them as individual units. They will rent them as individual units. That's my understanding, given our action.
That is correct.
So the number of vehicles in and out of there will be the same regardless. It's a matter of whether we want them to sell that and have to deal with 75 different owners of these units. And we've spoken to that issue, I believe.
I find them, the reasoning for using the traffic as a denial seems a bit off if we're admitting that the traffic is going to be the same regardless. I guess I just don't buy into the traffic. As Jory said, they found no issues. I'm struggling using that as a finding for denial.
And I'll speak just a little bit to that too, Commissioner Hoag. My concern was that under the facts and findings is that the Planning Commission was led to believe that this was a trunk highway and not one of our lower level roads. And therefore, they may have looked at it and said, well, it's a trunk highway, it fits with the comprehensive plan and the ordinance or policy, and I don't believe that it does. I think had they had the right designation there, they may have looked at that question differently. I don't know that for a fact, but it's always important to have the correct designation or verbiage to give the Planning Commission the best opportunity to make the best decision. Any other questions or concerns? I would ask Commissioner Franzine to provide that information to Jake and his team.
Okay, I've got a whole list. Do you want me just to give him the whole list?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So what we'll do then is we'll just take the list and incorporate that into the record for our findings as part of the decision. Is that
Okay.
okay?
Okay. Thank you very much.
All
I
right.
think that puts that issue to rest at this point.
All right, thank you.
Does that then mean that those findings will be approved, or
We'll bring them back to the next meeting.
so we'll have opportunity for all commissioners to speak towards the findings and whether they support them or not?
Certainly, Mr. Chair and Commissioner, I can certainly do that if that's what you'd like.
Yes.
Put that on consent, something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we
Okay.
can review them.
Great.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Next up is our county engineer, and I'm assuming, Mr. Danielson, you are heading the charge on this one, which is the COVID emergencies service level agreements.
Yes, thank you. Due to the increase in COVID-19 cases, the Highway Department felt it was necessary to reach out to area contractors to see if we could establish emergency service agreement for emergency operators should a substantial number of our maintenance staff be unable to report to duty. You as a county board previously approved a similar agreement in April with Anderson Brothers Construction of Brainerd during the local board emergency declaration. This previous agreement with Anderson Brothers expired when the local board emergency declaration expired. The two preliminary agreements we have here today are with Anderson Brothers Construction of Brainerd and with Hengel Construction of Pillager. The agreements will provide backup snow plowing, emergency operators should COVID-19 affect our maintenance staff and operations. The authorization of these agreements will allow, excuse me, County Engineer Tim Bray to sign and enter into the agreements, which will begin upon authorization and end in May of 2021. Currently, the Highway Department maintenance staff has not had any positive COVID-19 cases, but we have been affected by staff having to quarantine due to outside of work exposures. We've also reached out to the IUOE union, who represents our group, and they were not able to provide additional members, but the business agent does understand our needs for these agreements.
So thank you. I think that this is a good move. I think that it's proactive to what may be coming down the pipe for everybody. I think that having a plan in place, and we know what our roads can be and with the COVID numbers going up, I think it's imperative that we look forward like this. So I appreciate that. Any comments, questions, concerns from the other commissioners? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to approve entering into a service level agreements between Crow Wing County and both Anderson Brothers Construction Company of Brainerd LLC and Hengel Ready Mix and Construction to establish a formal and proactive working relationship that allows Crow Wing County to plan for contingencies during the COVID-19 pandemic, which may include emergency roadway maintenance, repair, and other services required to maintain the safety of Crow Wing County infrastructure, and the county engineer is authorized to sign said agreements on behalf of Crow Wing County.
So moved.
Commissioner Franzine makes the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Commissioner Hoag seconds that motion. Therese, if you would call the roll call, please.
Commissioner Hoag?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
County Sheriff. I don't know if he's online.
He's not.
Okay. We'll move on to County Attorney, Mr. Ryan.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I have one item on your agenda today, which is the final resolution for the Osawatomie restatement of the Osawatomie Lake Improvement District. I emailed everyone out a copy yesterday. I apologize again for not having it in the regular board packet. I don't know if there's any questions or concerns, and what I would be looking for is the consideration of the passing of the resolution today. I think it's ready to go, and we've had all our required public notices and hearings.
Thank you. With that, I would look for a motion to approve the resolution of restatement of Osawatomie Lake Improvement District.
So moved.
Commissioner Franzine makes the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Commissioner Brecken seconds the motion. Therese, if you would call the roll, please.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Thank you. With that, I don't have anything else to really report today. I do want to give a shout out to our to Debbie Erickson and to everyone who worked on the Crow Wing County elections as we watched the different results come in from across the nation, and we're very blessed to have such high quality people working on our systems. And though there were some issues we had to deal with, everything went very well. So thank you, Debbie, and thank your whole crew for me. Other than that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for the county attorney? Hearing none, thank you very much. We'll move on to the county administrator, Mr. Houle.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we had a senior management team meeting yesterday, and as you can imagine, our rising COVID case numbers are consuming more of our attention. We've seen some impacts within our own operation where a COVID exposure has taken down a work unit, and that has led to us restricting public entry to 2 of our buildings. The second one is scheduled to reopen on Thursday. To give you some standard of reference, as recently as a week ago yesterday, the case count was at 1,329 cases. Today, the case count is at 1,894 cases. So in 8 days, 565 new cases. And that gets to this question of hospitalization and ICU beds, and thought you would want to know, we have 16 ICU beds in the county. 13 of them are currently full. In addition to that, we don't have a count on the number of hospital beds that are available, but the anecdotal information that we're receiving from our area hospitals is that those numbers are climbing as well. At this rate of case growth, it's not hard to conceive that we could outpace the healthcare system's capacity to help us. Right now, we are already transferring folks outside the community for COVID. So we're sending them to other hospitals in Duluth, St. Paul, Minneapolis, Fargo. If those hospitals get full, then we're on our own. And I am concerned because as we listen to the news media talk about what's happening, not just here, but also in Duluth and in Fargo and in the Twin Cities, I am concerned that those hospital systems are getting stretched to near capacity.
Mr. Chair, Tim, have they been looking at any, you see some of these cities setting up like portable hospitals, or has that been discussed?
That's what would happen if we can't transfer patients.
And
then we start setting up what you would call additional capacity.
Yeah.
But it's going to be in a, maybe a tent location. It might be in a civic center location. It might be in the hallways. So there is surge capacity that has not been ramped up, and that is Plan B if we can't send folks to a higher level of care elsewhere.
So there is work being done?
There are plans for that surge capacity to get ramped up. So what I'm not concerned about is that we would run out of beds. What I am concerned about is that we would have to put that surge capacity in place, and we don't have an alternative to send someone to a higher level of care. So that, in my mind, this ought to be concerning to us. The case rate growth in the last 2 to 3 weeks is geometric. It will outpace our capacity to keep up at this rate. And so I just have to encourage all the folks who are listening. We know what the safety protocols are. Wear a mask, wash your hands, socially distance. I would suggest that our experience here is going to be a direct reflection of the degree to which we all engage in those safety practices. It makes a difference. We can see the numbers in Hennepin and Ramsey County are lower. Those are the two most densely populated counties in the state of Minnesota, and they're lower than we are here by almost half the rate. That should be concerning to us. The rate in some of our surrounding counties is twice as high as it is here in Crow Wing. That ought to be concerning to us because they're our neighbors. Their healthcare systems could become overwhelmed. And so I just think that the numbers that are rising in our community should be getting more of our attention. And I hope that folks will heed the safety warnings so that we can keep ourselves as safe as we can. Nobody is coming into Crow Wing County to do this to us. We were worried about this in July. Thank God this didn't happen in July, but it's here now. And so nobody's coming in from the outside to do this to us. We're going to do this to ourselves. And so collective action is really important. I'm happy to answer any questions about that consumed.
Any questions from the commissioners?
Mr. Chair, I do have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Coring.
Yes, Mr. Houle, I think I know the answer to this, though. When let's say the ICU beds are to capacity, would it fall on county government then to try to figure out, okay, so how do we add additional ICU beds, or would that be up to Essentia, or does that kind of fall back to the county then at that point, and then we put in some kind of an action plan? I guess that's my question.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Coring, great question. Thank God it's not county government that will solely fall back on. It will be the hospital systems who would be the leads in that. They are the ones who would ramp up those plans. We're a backstop, if you will, from a public health perspective. And so we would play a supporting role in whatever ways we can in helping them to bring that capacity up from an emergency management perspective. That's the angle that would get Crow Wing County in here, is emergency management. If they become overwhelmed, we will have more of an active role with them than if they're not.
Okay.
Any other questions, Commissioner Coring?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Commissioner
Kim,
Holt.
maybe just a quick question. Do we know where these hospitals are at? I mean, have they had conversations about this?
Absolutely. I would say every healthcare system in the state of Minnesota right now is talking about this.
And who are they having these conversations with? I mean,
Within their own systems and between the systems. So, for instance, Essentia or Cuyuna, if they need to send a patient out somewhere to Duluth, they may be sending it to a different healthcare system. And so that interplay between the healthcare systems, those agreements have been in place, and we know that, right? People get transferred to the cities all the time. But if there's no bed there, that's the problem.
so I guess I'm assuming they know that we're a source or hopefully of support or whatever we could do to help them, that they could make sure they ask for anything that they may need.
The briefing that I just gave you was based on outreach done by our emergency management director yesterday.
Okay.
And so we are in contact with them.
Good.
Any other questions? All right, we'll move to the next one, which is the 10.2 Memorial Gardens financial contribution. Before the board responds, Mr. Blank, would you like to speak?
Yes, good morning, board, and thank you for having us on the agenda. We've had some conversation in the past in terms of the importance of Memorial Gardens to the cemetery system in the Brainerd Lakes area. And as we have presented to the board, both in a written report as well as verbally, we are faced with some financial stress in the near future, and have been in discussion with both the city council and the county board looking for future assistance.
Okay, thank you. So what they're looking for, or what we're considering, is a $20,000 one-time donation, I guess I would call it, from the FAD, where we are the township authority, and then we will authorize the county administrator to look at this situation next June, was it?
July.
July, in consideration of the budget for 2022. So at this point, I would be looking for a motion.
Mr. Chair, before the motion, can I speak to this?
Commissioner Coring, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I just want to weigh in and give my support as a township officer. I'm not speaking as a county commissioner now, because I do not support Crow Wing County giving any money to the cemetery, but as a township officer and speaking in my capacity as a town board member for unorganized territory, I do support the $20,000 for Memorial Gardens. But I do not support us acting like the federal government and saying, well, we'll give that $20,000 if the city of Brainerd will give money to Evergreen Cemetery. I don't think that that's not our responsibility to add strings to giving that money. That I know if the city of Brainerd, if it was in reverse and the city of Brainerd was doing that to us, I certainly wouldn't like it. If they said, well, we're gonna put in this city walk, and if the county matches it, we'll be able to do it. Well, then, and if the county said, well, no, we're not going to do it, then everybody's mad. So I'm all in favor of the $20,000 one time for now, but I do not want any strings attached to it, or, you know, our elected officials for the Brainerd City Council being put in a position where we're saying, well, we'll give it if you'll give it. That's not up to us. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but that's my position.
Yep, and Commissioner Coring, I appreciate that, and that is not part of the action that's being requested at this time, so, but thank you for bringing it up. I know we did discuss that at one time, but it is not part of what potentially will be our motion. Commissioner Hoag.
Well, that kind of answers my question, because I know that we had discussed that as part of, if Brainerd, if you will, does that, then we would. But my question is, is this an automatic deal, or is it when the funds are depleted?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hoag, it is currently contemplated as an appropriation to them, and then we would review their finances at the end of this year and where they stand in July.
And I thought that the projections for them to run out of money was out into 2023 or something.
Yeah, it is. And it's just that for an organization like that, if they don't have the cash flow, and you can relate to this as it relates to our own experience. You have to have a certain amount of money in the bank so that you can cash flow between when you get payments. And so they do need to maintain a minimum fund balance in order for them to continue to operate. And my concern is they get to 2023 and they hit zero. That's too late.
Okay, well, it's just changed a little bit since our original discussion on this. I just want to make sure I understand I guess the whole intent of it. But again, I support it as a township representative, but just wanted to make it clear of, I guess, of the changes.
Any other comments, concerns? Then I would look for a motion to allocate $20,000 from the FAD's fund balance reserves as a one-time contribution to the Evergreen Cemetery Association to be used exclusively for the maintenance and upkeep of memorial gardens in the FAD, and further that the association must provide an accounting to verify that the funds were used exclusively for memorial gardens, and further, the county administrator is directed to revisit this issue with the association next July to determine if or to what extent any additional financial contributions may be warranted. I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
So moved.
Commissioner Hoag makes the motion. Commissioner Coring, are you willing to be the second? Commissioner Coring is the second. Therese, if you would call the roll call, please.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Blank.
Well, thank you very much. The Board of Trustees will be delighted to know of your support, and we will work closely with Mr. Hool accordingly.
Very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, that's all I had under my report, but I'm happy to answer any questions about that or anything else related to county government.
Any other questions for Administrator Hool? We'll move on to additional business, and Commissioner Franzine.
Okay, I was contacted by Pete Charpentier from the HRA, and my appointment to the HRA board, which is Craig Nathan, is expiring, and he would like to know if I would like to reappoint him, and I would, and it does take a motion, so I will make that motion.
Commissioner Franzine makes the motion to reappoint Craig Nathan to the Crow Wing County HRA Committee.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Coring. Therese, if you would call the roll call, please.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Hoag?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Congratulations to Mr. Nathan, I think.
He likes this.
Yes, he does, and he does a very good job. So just a couple things that I wanted to bring up under additional business is the election that we just went through, and I want to piggyback off from Attorney Ryan's remarks that Debbie Erickson, her staff, the poll workers, and the volunteers that all made this election go as smoothly as it did with the high turnout. I appreciate that. I think that it's phenomenal what we've been blessed with Debbie and her leadership in the election process. So I wanted to just call that out also. I want to remind everyone that tomorrow is Veterans Day and that we need to acknowledge our veterans. I think it's unfortunate sometimes that we only pick out one day out of a year. This goes to Mother's Day and Father's Day and every other one, when we should appreciate each other every day, and certainly our veterans who have provided us with this wonderful opportunity in our lives. So to the veterans, thank you very much. The second thing is, from my position, and this is me only, and I would assume that the rest of the board, unless you want to object to it, talking about the COVID, and I want to just say that with the numbers climbing exponentially as they are, to the public and to all of us, please wear a mask and social distance. It's the adult thing to do. We cannot expect the capacity of our local hospitals to be able to meet the need if we continue to have the exposure that we have. So respect your family, your neighbors, and the business owners. And to the business owners, their position, I want to say that we're all concerned about the economy. I hear that all the time. If you're worried about the economy, then worry about the business owner and whether or not you're going to shut him down by bringing in COVID to his business. That is a direct contradiction to what everybody says, that we want the economy to get back to where it was. Well, if we do, then let's all do our part, wear our mask, and do social distancing. And with that, I'm done with my rant. I would,
Mr. Chair, could I say
yes,
something then?
Commissioner Coring, go right ahead.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chair, obviously, you know that Commissioner Hogue and I were reelected to the county board. I just want to say on a big thank you to the people that I have represented for the last 8 years here. Actually, I've represented them probably for 16 years if you count my Senate tenure. It is it's challenging at times to be in public office, but I really feel good about it. And I've now won more elections than I've lost. It's hard to lose. And I just want to say to the people that I represent, I appreciate you putting your confidence in me to serve you for another 4 years. I looked at the numbers, and I would also say that Debbie does an excellent job. I know there's no fraud in Crow Wing County at all. She does an excellent job, and I appreciate the work that she does. I also want to echo what you said about Veterans Day, because Veterans Day is actually very, very special to me, because my dad died on Veterans Day 6 years ago. So tomorrow it'll be 6 years. Missing him very much. But I will pledge for the next 4 years. I know that we've had a rocky road here the last 6 months with my other fellow county board members, but I will pledge that I will do my best to work with you. Where I disagree, I'm going to vigorously disagree, but where we can work together, I'm going to work right alongside you. Just like today, Commissioner Hogue and I are going to be doing interviews together for the Airport Commission at 1 o'clock, and I look forward to that. So thank you to my fellow commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coring. Well said. Appreciate that. Anyone else? With that, I would look for a motion to adjourn to closed session.
So moved.
Commissioner Franzine moves the motion.
Second.
Commissioner Coring seconds the motion. Therese, if you would call the roll call, please.
Commissioner Hogue?
Aye.
Commissioner Franzine?
Aye.
Commissioner Coring?
Aye.
Commissioner Brecken?
Aye.
Commissioner Barrows?
Chair votes yes, and so we will move to closed session. I appreciate that.
Have a good day, everybody.
You too, Don.